Yeah.
How's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man. Unpopular opinions. You hate them. I debate them. Let me just fix my hair. So let's fight! That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back once again to the monthly show where I attempt to fisticuff with every single salty weeb on the internet for your pleasure and entertainment. And for this episode, I decided to do something a little bit different. Usually, I just ask you guys over on Twitter to use that hashtag Let's Fight to just send me a bunch of unpopular opinions. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, anime or manga or light novel or anything otaku and, you know, anime weeb related or anything. I just bring it all into one. But this time I thought I would focus on one type of unpopular opinion. That's right, for this episode, I asked you guys over on Twitter to give me your unpopular opinions and tough questions about manga, specifically manga series, anything to do with the manga industry. If it has to do with manga, then I'm gonna try and debate about it in this episode. Because to be completely honest with you, even though my name is the Anime Man, I've recently been really getting into manga. And you guys seem to be slowly gaining an interest towards my manga tastes and stuff like that too. So I thought this would be a nice, interesting show for you manga fans out there, because I know you guys exist. But without further ado, let's fucking fight! Colored manga is arguably better than monochrome, but both include titty that gets censored in adaptations, so manga is better than anime. Okay, first of all, you're wrong twice there. You're wrong about the fact that colored manga is better than monochrome, because I personally think that as much as I do like some, you know, special colored chapters and colored openings of chapters in some shonen series, I just think manga is amazing and unique and cool because it is in monochrome. The fact that so much manga is in monochrome gives you more space to fill it in with your own colors. We all see different scenes in manga differently depending on our life experiences or how we want to interpret said characters or scenes or stories. Like the first people who ever saw, you know, Kaneki's hair in Tokyo Ghoul just saw it as white hair, but you can imagine him to have blonde hair if you want as well. It's really up to your interpretation, and some artists can make monochrome scenes look just as incredible and amazing as colored scenes. Oh, and you're also wrong about the whole titties getting censored thing in manga anyway, because that just means you're reading certain manga series or you're not reading legitimate manga scandalations and everything, because even some shonen manga stuff recently is also full-blown titty. I mean, every single Shonen Jump series that has ever been made have all had the full titty exposed in their manga counterparts, so clearly somebody is reading illegal scandalations. Berserk only gets interesting after the 8th or so volume. Fuck you? Actually, you know what? Let's check, because I have all of the Berserk manga right here, all 40 volumes. So let's check. Let me grab volume 8 right now and see where this apparently starts to get interesting. Okay, so I just quickly read through volume 8 right now just to see whereabouts in the story volume 8 takes place, and I don't want to give too many spoilers away in case you haven't read Berserk before, but for those of you who have read it, it is the point during the Golden Age arc where Guts has a fight with Griffith, and he finally beats Griffith after all this time, and he decides to leave the Band of Hawks. Which means that, according to this particular tweet, they are saying that the manga gets interesting around the back half of the Golden Age arc. Which means that they're completely neglecting the first half of the Golden Age arc, which I think is just as amazing as the back half of the Golden Age arc. But they're also completely ignoring the first couple of volumes where you get introduced to Guts as a character, you get introduced to the world, you get introduced to characters such as Pippin, who become much more relevant later in the story. Honestly, there is really no point in Berserk where it starts to get interesting. It's interesting from the get-go. It's a fucking amazing from the get-go. It just gets even better. I mean, I'm just saying, you would have made more sense if you said that Berserk starts to get interesting from the Lost Children arc. Like, I would have gotten that because the Lost Children arc is very good, but you're still wrong about that. So, yeah, fuck you. Berserk is amazing from volume 1, alright? Manga, as said by my parents, isn't real reading. It's not providing any creativity or imagination by showing rather than telling. And I bet you those same parents grew up watching movies or watching Saturday morning cartoons or even perhaps read comic books like DC and Marvel, which are all products that show rather than tell. So yeah, that's just ignorance at its best. I hate reading action manga. It's so hard for me to identify and understand the situation and fight scenes because sometimes it's just random doodles. Well, clearly the only action manga that you've ever read is Attack on Titan then. Ooh, sick burn. In all seriousness though, this really does just depend on the particular action manga you're reading because clearly some action manga are much better at conveying its action scenes than others. For example, as I previously mentioned, Attack on Titan fight scenes are just a bunch of scribbly doo-doo and looks like total garbage. Meanwhile, you get action scenes from, I don't know, the aforementioned Berserk, or Claymore, or even One Punch Man if we're gonna go down the mainstream territory, who all have very nice, crisp, well choreographed fight scenes. So yeah, just, I guess if you don't like action manga, just stop reading Attack on Titan and read something good. I don't think Oda-sensei can come up with something that will surpass the level of hype that One Piece has been getting over the years on its ending. My point is, the ending probably will be very disappointing in an expectation point of view. And you know what? Honestly, as a One Piece fan myself, that may be right. But the thing that you have to remember is that with these extremely long-running series such as these, the ending really doesn't matter because a lot of the times those fans don't want an ending to come. So the fact that their favorite long-running series that they probably grew up with ever since they were a little babu is finally ending, yeah, from an expectation point of view is probably low. Because all they really care about is the journey, not the destination. I mean, I guarantee that as much as so many One Piece fans will keep hypothesizing on what exactly the One Piece treasure is at the end of the journey, if it does actually get to the end, I don't think they'll fucking care. Because they're not gonna remember One Piece for its possibly amazing ending, they're gonna remember One Piece for the amazing journey that they got to that ending. I mean, I can vouch for this myself. One of the longest running manga series ever was this series called Kochikame, or Kochira Katsushikaku Kameari Koen Mai Hasujo. Yeah, I know, it's a really long title, so we just shorten it to Kochikame. Which, as I mentioned, is the longest running manga series in history. It ended with its 200th volume about 2 years ago. We're talking about a series that has been going on since the mid-70s and has been releasing chapters every single week on Shonen Jump without a break or a hiatus from the creator Akimoto Osamu. And I'm not gonna say that I've read all of Kochikame. I mean, it's definitely a series that I have been reading ever since I can ever remember it, and I have gone back to read all the chapters that were released before I was born. And I'm not gonna lie, when I read the final chapter, it was kind of anticlimactic, but I still love that series and I don't really care about the ending chapter. I only remember the series for just being a great journey. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. Even if a long-running series does end up having a mediocre ending, all of the fans are still gonna remember for its amazing journey. But again, we don't know. This is Oda Eiichiro, and he seems to have made One Piece so that every sequential chapter and sequential arc has just gotten better and better and better and better and better with over, 20 plus years of storytelling. So who the fuck knows? This ending to One Piece, whenever it does come about, I might possibly be dead by the time the One Piece ending comes out, might just be the most mind-blowing fucking ending we've ever seen in manga history. Who knows? Until then though, why not just enjoy the journey and not really think about the possibly shitty ending? A lot of manga series follow the same sort of pacing when it comes to the story. It's really old and boring when 8/10 of the story has the same formula. What formula is that you're talking about? You said that they all seem to have the same formula, but you failed to point out what said formula is. Are you talking about like the 5 C's of basic storytelling? Like context, conflict, climax, closure, conclusion? Like is that the structure you're talking about? Because if that's the case, then yeah, no shit, that's how you write a story. Or could it be that perhaps you've only read a few manga series that just happen to be really fucking mediocre and just so happen to follow the same kind of storytelling methods, and you just think that all manga follows that method? Because if you've read around with a lot of different manga series from a lot of different genres, you'll know that it's not true. Like, this is bullshit. It's not even an unpopular opinion, it's just a wrong opinion. So help me out, comment section, like, what is this tweet trying to say? I don't know. Jump is not the best shonen magazine, at least not only. You know, weirdly enough, I kind of agree yet disagree with this opinion. Let me explain. Yes, Shonen Jump is factually definitely not the only shonen magazine out there. I mean, even if you just think of like the top 3 magazines, you have Shonen Jump, Shonen Magazine, and Shonen Champion. But while I say that, Shonen Jump is definitely just by far a way more popular shonen magazine because it just happens to have a lot more better and more commercialized stories. I mean, most likely when you think of a shonen series, the first ones you'll come up with are Shonen Jump series. So contextually speaking, yes, Shonen Jump is the only shonen magazine for a lot of people. But while I say that, I also feel bad for some of the other lesser known stories that didn't make it quite out into the international world from Shonen Jump. Because while Shonen Jump may not be the only shonen magazine that exists, the top 5, you know, Shonen Jump stuff like One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, My Hero Academia, or Dragon Ball, all that shit, are not the only shonen manga in Shonen Jump. There are so many hidden gems in Shonen Jump's history that haven't really made it out into the mainstream and kind of have been forgotten over time, when I think they're just as, if not more entertaining than the big 5 Shonen Jump series that you can think of. So yeah, Shonen Jump is definitely not the only shonen magazine, but there are also a lot of hidden stuff in Shonen Jump that needs more attention in my opinion. Vagabond's art is average and extremely overrated. Fuck off. You can take any one panel from Vagabond and not say that this is fucking beautiful artwork. I'm not gonna be one of those people who says, oh, you should try drawing like this then and see how you feel about it afterwards, because obviously I can't draw like this either. I'd never be able to draw like this in my entire life. But you gotta admit, this shit looks fucking amazing. Like, it's not even a matter of personal bias. This is art, and there's no fucking questioning about it. So no, it's not extremely overrated. Fuck you, you're just wrong. Everyone should read Ichigo 100% so we can all be ashamed about reading and not thinking it's all hot garbage. I love you! You know, weirdly enough, like literally last week as of the recording of this video, I happened to buy all of the Ichigo 100% manga again because this shit is fucking amazing. I don't understand people who say that Ichigo 100% is like a trash romance or it's just a trash show, because have you read this? I'm not gonna say this is the best romance manga that I've ever read because I've obviously already made a video about that on Eyes, but I would say this is a fucking close second when it comes to romance manga. And I don't know, this might just be my whole personal bias thing because I grew up reading Kawasta Mizuki stuff and Ichigo 100% was a big part of my high school life growing up. But bruh, it's so good! Please read it! Don't listen to people who say that this is trash or anything. This is a fucking amazing romance series. Yes, it may not be the most unique romance out there, but just because it has a bunch of cliche topics and some tropey elements to it, that doesn't mean it's a bad manga. All of the girls in this series are fucking cute, they're all best girl in my opinion, and it has one of the most wholesome and clean endings to a Shonen Jump romance series I have ever read. So if you've read this and said it's trash, I can't be friends with you, I'm sorry. Anime over 200 episodes need to learn when to end it. It's unnecessary and excessive to have an anime be 900 plus episodes on an extremely simple premise that would finish in 12 episodes. I mean, this says anime and episodes, but this same logic can also be applied to manga and chapters. And while it does relate to manga as much as it does anime, I equally kind of disagree with this point, because usually series that are as long as this tweet says they are, do have a story that requires that many episodes to expand its universe. If anything, I feel there are more series that have universes and worlds within it that do require 200 plus chapters or episodes to expand upon that end up getting way less than that in manga and or anime form. I mean, an amazing example is Kyokai Senju on Horizon, who only ended up getting like a 2-core series from what I can remember, but if you've read the light novel, you'll know that that is one of the most expanding universes in a story that I've ever fucking read. Look, I totally get where you're coming from. You're probably talking about, you know, series like Bleach and Detective Conan and One Piece and Naruto and all those series that have 200 plus episodes that are just way too big, and they might seem like simple concepts, but you can ask the fan bases of any of those series and they will be very happy to disagree with you, it being a simple concept. And if you don't like series that are 200 plus episodes or chapters long, don't fucking consume it, man. There's plenty of great short form stories out there. That's the one thing I love about manga more than anime. Sometimes, in my opinion, 12 episodes is too much for particular stories. Whereas with manga, you can get one-shot series that are just one fucking book, like a few chapters only, that can tell incredibly vivid and deep stories within a short time frame. But then again, it's a matter of perspective. If you like the longer running stuff, then that's your shtick. But there is also nice and short and sweet series out there as well, for those of you who can't sit around for that long. I prefer shoujo manga over shoujo anime. I don't know, it's just something about the beauty of imagining specific scenes, e.g. the audio or the actual moment, if that makes sense. No, I agree, that totally makes sense, and I think it's because one of the biggest appeals of shoujo manga is its artwork. A lot of core themes on shoujo manga is the internal struggles and the internal clockworks of the main heroine or the main protagonist going through these sorts of tough romantic relationships. I'm not saying that all shoujo manga is like that, but the majority of shoujo manga is that. It's a boy and a girl falling in love with each other, but there is some kind of conflict that is standing in their way, and it's up to them, or one of them, or some third-party power that needs to come in and try and resolve it in some form that may not end up with a particularly happy ending at the end. And what makes these, as I say, round-of-the-mill kind of concepts so unique for a lot of different romance and shoujo romance mangas is the artwork. Because when you look deeper at a lot of shoujo manga, it's not just a girl monologuing. It's not just a boy and a girl conversing about each other's feelings. There is a lot of factors in the artworks of a lot of shoujo manga that play around with the reader's imagination, play around with the internal struggles of what is happening rather than the external struggles of what is happening. Where a lot of shonen action manga tend to focus on things like backgrounds and explosions and these external visuals, a lot of shoujo manga tends to focus on the internal struggles. That's why a big trope in a lot of shoujo manga is the bubbly types of backgrounds that you see when a character is monologuing. Or the rose-colored lenses, as I like to call them, of a heroine looking up at a protagonist and saying that he's a hot piece of ass. It's a lot of subtleties, and that's what makes shoujo manga so appealing for a lot of girls and boys. But it's really hard to convey that kind of beauty in animation. It's really hard to convey that kind of stillness in animation when a lot of it is moving, when a lot of it is portrayed by something that is not part of your imagination and part of your way of interpreting something. But then again, as I said, that's just your run-of-the-mill shoujo manga, and obviously there are plenty of different types of shoujo manga out there. I mean, Sailor Moon is technically a shoujo manga, but that was a fucking amazing anime. I like reading manga more than watching anime because I feel less forced to read a series than I do when I watch anime. And honestly, I agree. Like, as I said at the beginning of this video, the reason why I've kind of fallen off anime a lot and have kind of gone more towards reading manga is exactly this. Because the landscape of anime YouTubing nowadays is all about keeping up to date on the hot new shit. If you're not watching the currently airing stuff and you're not making videos about the currently airing stuff, then you're falling behind. You're a bad otaku. And eventually the core audience of otakus on the internet who do consume our types of videos are not really going to care about the said anituber if they're not keeping up to date with the current shit. Which is one part of the anime community, I guess, and the whole culture of watching anime that I've kind of grown to dislike a lot. Because when I started watching anime back in the early 2000s during the golden period, that community of keeping up to date with stuff didn't really exist, to be honest. The anime community sort of just focused more on finding stuff because everything was in this mysterious cloud that no one was really unable to keep up to date with. And it was more of a matter of like, hey, have you seen this series from the past? Or, hey, have you seen this newer series that might end up being cool? Whereas nowadays, people don't really care about shit that is from the past. People only care about the hundreds of series that are coming out every new season and beyond. I mean, the fact that the biggest hot topic right now in the anime community is about Promised Neverland getting a second season in 2020, when 2019 has barely even started yet, is exactly the point that I'm trying to make. You don't see people talking about stuff from 2018 anymore. Like, once the year rolls over, it's like everyone's brain just refreshes and it's like, oh shit, I guess I just forgotten about everything I watched during the 365 days of the year. Whereas the manga world and and the manga sphere, especially on the internet, is still covered in that shroud of mystery. There are still people who are digging up older stuff, digging up these diamonds in the rough that have been underground for years and years and pulling it back up and being like, hey look, check out this manga series from the 70s, which is fucking amazing. And that's why I'm so much more into reading manga nowadays than I am watching anime, because it's an untapped market. People aren't digging up stuff from manga as much as they are in anime. But I don't know, this may just be like a temporary thing. I might just be burnt out from anime because I've been honestly doing this for over a decade now. And maybe I just want to, you know, relax and not have to chase trends and have to make videos on new series every season just to stay fucking relevant on this website. Most manga authors with weekly serializations are overworked as heck, and that's a big reason why most long-running series tend to fall off story-wise and sometimes art-wise. Cough, Kubo, cough. As a manga reader, I hate hiatuses, but manga authors need more breaks. As cold and heartless as I am about to sound right now, I actually disagree with this opinion. And that's not because I'm some heartless bitch who is like trying to whip the manga authors into submission to stay on time, but it's because this knowledge of if I become a manga author, I'm gonna be overworked as fuck, and I'm gonna be stressed out as fuck, and I'm going to be chased by a deadline every single week. This knowledge is already been inputted into a manga author's head before they even release their work. The thing is, manga authors are going into this world fully understanding the struggles that they're about to go through. But because they love writing manga so much, because they love drawing manga so goddamn much, because they want to be in this industry so goddamn much, they just swallow down their stresses and they just work. If anything, not all hiatuses from manga authors are based off of tiredness from their own work or stress from their overworked life. I mean, Mira Kentaro, the creator of Berserk, took a 6-year hiatus. You'd think after a 6-year break, he'd be ready to come back to work now, right? And in the case with this particular tweet talking about Kubo, or the creator of Bleach if you don't know, and his quality of story dropping because he was overworked, that's actually untrue. Kubo has said in many interviews that he actually had huge creative differences between the publisher, Shonen Jump, and his own way that he wanted to bring the Bleach story, and that clash is what caused his story to go down the shitter. And if anything, the biggest reason why manga authors are so fucking overworked to the bone is because of us, the consumers. Well, I've said this many times, but it's the exact reason why there are so many anime series that have been created year in and year out. It's because the demand for the supply is getting greater and greater and greater every year. As there are more people who are reading manga and watching anime on a daily basis and making it part of their lives, the more that the industry needs to produce all sorts of different products for all sorts of different consumers. And again, if this whole logic of because they're stressed out and because they're being overworked and that's why they're taking hiatuses, if that whole thing were the case, then why don't we see every single manga creator going on hiatuses? We only see really a small tiny fraction of manga authors going on hiatuses, usually because of non-work reasons. Or if they are work reasons, then it's just an accident. Their body just couldn't handle it. But they can't blame anybody about it because they knew fully well the industry that they were about to go into. Yes, it is a tough as fuck industry. I think everybody agrees with that, but it's that whole difference between looking at a tough as fuck industry and being like, well, you know what? I want to do this so fucking badly. I'm willing to go into that hellhole. Versus people who want to be a manga artist so badly, but just don't have the guts or the balls to go into and experience that hell of a job. So it's all a matter of perspective, in my opinion. Yes, I do feel sorry for manga authors who get overworked and who get stressed out and who possibly, you know, get sick because of their work. But you also have to remember that not all manga artists are like that. A lot of them are also free from any deadlines and they just want to be in this creative industry no matter how hard it is. The entire manga business is too obsessed with high school. Sometimes it feels that mangaka think your life ends after high school and that this is the only time to have great adventures. I'm tired of reading about 16-year-olds. Give me main characters in their 30s, please. Okay, this is a point that I have been meaning to do a video on for the longest time, but I'm just gonna answer it here because it's honestly not even worth covering in a video. The biggest reason why there is so much manga that is based in high school or is based upon high school characters is mainly two reasons. One, because the main demographic of manga readers are in high school, so it's much easier for said readers to immerse themselves into these characters and stories because it's in a relevant time frame of their life. And two, a lot of adults who read these kinds of manga are reading manga based in high school because they're reminiscing about the times they were in high school. Because for a lot of Japanese people, and this may be a shock to a lot of people who especially went to shitty high schools, and I think a lot of Americans can agree with me on this, a lot of Americans and Western people think that high school was the worst years of their life. But in Japan, it's actually the opposite. A lot of people in their life look back on high school and think that was the best time of their life. And that's why so much manga is glorifying high school days and high school students, because for so many manga readers, looking back and thinking back on high school is a blessing to them. It's a positive reaction and reminiscing. I know, really fucking hard to believe, especially for people who had a fucking terrible time in high school. But in Japan, high school is like heaven for a lot of people, especially compared to the extremely harsh work culture of Japanese companies. And, you know, if you want to read something that is, you know, has adult stuff in it, then there are plenty of seinen manga that do have adult protagonists. It's just a matter of finding them. You're sure as shit gonna have a hard time looking for 30-year-old protagonists in Shonen Jump. You're better off looking in a much older demographic magazine than that. To understand a certain manga, we need to know the mangaka, that we can understand the underlying message and style used in the manga. Although yes, it is nice if you want to know fully the inspiration behind the story or inspiration behind the characters. If you really want to get into the deep lore of a story, then yes, looking up background information on the creator is probably the best way to go about it. But in my opinion, some of the best manga artists, some of the best storytellers can remain completely anonymous and still create amazing pieces of fiction. I mean, I hate to fucking bring this name up again because I know you're already probably sick of it, but Nishio Ishin, he is completely anonymous. Nobody knows what he looks like, nobody knows what he sounds like, nobody knows what the guy even is like. But he creates some of the most vividly beautiful stories and some of the most uniquely written stories out there. And, you know, yeah, we might learn a lot about the inspiration of different characters and stories if we knew the person, but I can still enjoy it without knowing who the fuck this guy is. A really good storyteller can do that, but if the story is shit and it requires the reader to look up background information on the creator, then I would argue that that's actually a bad author's choice. The Fullbringer arc in Bleach, especially in the manga, had some amazing plot points and actually tension during the arc, but is shit on because people see it as lazy filler. I mean, let's be real, anything after the Weko Mundo arc is basically filler. Like, reading through the Aizen arc was like trying to do CPR on a dead guy. The fact that less people own / buy a physical manga anymore is the publisher's fault. Unless you live in Japan, it's impossible to get the newest issue of the current manga. The manga they sell in your country is probably a few volumes behind. You know, that's actually not all true, because you can go to websites like Bookwalker, who just so happens to be sponsoring this video as well. That's right, if you go to global.bookwalker.jp, they will have fully translated English manga that is properly owned and is properly legal, and by buying said e-manga, you can support the industry and the creators as well. Not to mention that they do a really good job in trying to keep up with the latest volumes that also come out in Japan. And not just manga, but you can check out light novels, you can check out magazines that are all fully translated in English and, trust me, are way cheaper than the stuff that you can buy in any other country outside of Japan. And best of all, if you use my coupon code TheAnimeMan, you can get $5 off your purchase. So if you're the same as this person and are complaining about not being able to catch up to the latest manga, or there being no point to buy physical manga, then why not go to global.bookwalker.jp, links in the description below, check it out. But guys, that's gonna do it for this episode of Let's Fight! Thank you once again to everybody who gave me your questions. There was like over 2,000 submissions on this episode of Let's Fight, so I appreciate your guys' full support. And if you would like to possibly get your unpopular opinion read in the next episode of Let's Fight, then the best place to do it is to follow me over on Twitter, use that hashtag Let's Fight, and if you have an amazingly hot take or an unpopular opinion, then it might get read out and I might fight with you on it on the next episode. If you want to watch the previous episode, then the link is also in the description or the end card at the end of this video. And if you want to support your boy directly, then the best place to do it is over on patreon.com/TheAnimeMan, and you can check out some amazing rewards there as well. Anyways guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Like and favorite if you enjoy, subscribe for more banner, keep watching anime. Ciao ne!